Hi there, fellow female activists. Your wellness coach, Cathy here. And hello to anyone who's new. And if you are new, then you are not aware, but we start each of our recommendation videos with positive quotient repetitions, or PQ reps. And yeah, so as long as you feel safe, you can close your eyes. You can be standing, laying down, sitting, doesn't matter. But either way, I want you to think about having a nice tall spine, okay? And then really roll your shoulders back. I'm going to get rid of my glasses here. And basically, what we're going to do is we're actually just going to be breathing. So to start off, what we're going to do is we're going to notice our breath. All we're going to do is notice it. We're not going to judge it. We're not changing it yet. We're just going to notice. So what parts of your body do you notice are moving with your breath? Do you have shallow breath, quick breath? Now, we are going to change our breath pattern. We're going to be intentional. So we're going to breathe in through our nose for a 4 count. And then we're going to exhale for 6. So inhale through our nose for 4, and then inhale through our mouth with a sigh for 6. Here we go. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through the nose for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 6 through the mouth and sigh. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more time. Inhale through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale with the sigh for 6, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And go ahead and blink your eyes open. I specifically wanted us to go into our breathing because that's kind of what we're talking about. So if you were a little jumpy before we started, hello, you're probably now in a better state of mind, and you're now hopefully in a parasympathetic state. 1 minute of breathing, of intentional breathing, or even just listening to your breathing, heck, can actually change you from a fight or flight response into your rest and digest response. So what we did hopefully has calmed you, and now you're in a better focus mode. And today we are talking about my recommendation, and this is all about 5 easy ways to support your nervous system. And right now, our nervous systems have been hijacked pretty much forever. I mean, I come from a semi-privileged position, the fact that, even though I am a person of color, you wouldn't know that by looking at me per se, right? But I am a woman and I am Latina. And I have definitely looked different. When I was younger, I was darker. And so I definitely had more of my Mexican indigenous look. And I say that because I have experienced life through the lens of someone of a person of color. Now, though, that I'm, you know, um, level 51, as we age, our pigment changes. In most cases, it gets lighter. So if I were to spend any time outside, I might actually get darker. But because I know the consequences of, sun rays, I don't. I say all that because, again, I grew up with both mostly black and brown kids, okay, through basically until I got to college. Um, and then I didn't realize there are so many white presenting people in the world. But myself included, technically, even though, again, as a woman, I have always been marginalized, right? But I say what I say is because my nervous system, as a woman, it is always high on alert. But I don't have the same type of, I have a slight privilege when it comes to, say, Black people, right? My Black sisters didn't, they had no uh, reprise, or they didn't have any, they've always been in a state of constant stress because of simply their pigment. Whereas I might pass as a white person, right? So, without getting too much into that, because that's a whole nother story, 5 easy ways to support your nervous system. What we're trying to right now, um, for you all listening, is every day it's hard, okay? For some more than others, right? And if we can regulate our nervous system, even just a little bit more, it will help us get through this. My prayer and hope is that I'm going to see the end of this regime in the United States, and then that I will be part of the rebuilding, the reconstruction, the true reconstruction that should have happened after the Civil War, right? We waited this long now, unfortunately. And now that we look like Nazi Germany in the 1930s in the US, it goes through with that reason that I want to see the end of the regime. And to do so means I really get to regulate my nervous system so that my emotions, my fears don't hijack my sympathetic nervous system all the time, and that I'm rational as much as possible to fight the regime to the end. So, 5 easy steps, we're getting there. So, I wanted to preface all that because why is it so important to regulate your nervous system? Because your nervous system tells your brain whether you're in distress or not. Okay. Those signals are what tell your brain to throw out cortisol, to throw out adrenaline. If we keep throwing out constantly those hormones, okay, for the fight or flight response, we have depleted the rest of our body needlessly when we really do require those adrenaline and cortisol responses. So if we can neutralize or keep our nervous system neutral more times than not, even when we get heated, right, then we have a better chance of survival overall. So the 5 easy ways to support your nervous system. Number 1, close your eyes before and after turning off lights. How simple is that? None of what I'm going to give you seems even useful. It is free, literally, you don't have to buy anything. And that's why I love it, because it's simple and it's free. And it's something that internally you can achieve. So, number 1, to support your nervous system, close your eyes before and after turning off lights. Meaning, when you know you're going to turn off a light, close your eyes first. And then when you've turned off the light, the second, uh, you know, the second tip is blink your eyes open again after closing, or, turning off the light, and then you close them, blink them open. And the same in the reverse. If you've, again, turned on the light, have your eyes closed, and then blink them open. So the first tip, again, was close your eyes before and after, okay, turning off any lights. Why is that? Because your eyes, they have a direct outlet, okay, a direct signal to your subconscious, and everything is connected. I'm not saying that any one part of your body isn't, but what I am saying is that as soon as your eyes sense light of any kind, whether it's natural, simulated, whatnot, it will start telling your brain that it needs to now pay attention for one, because you're awake, let's say, but it has to observe, if you're able, it has to observe your surroundings to make sure what? That you're safe. But also, okay, hormones get released when you see light. In the same way that when you turn off light or dim the lights, so when you up the light, okay, whether it's natural light, whatnot, then you have, again, tiny amounts of cortisol start to rise, and that gets you alert. So your cortisol has to rise when you're awake. It doesn't matter, well, I should say, for most, I would say for a majority of humans, our waking hours are during the day. And then we're theoretically supposed to be asleep, honestly, in the night, okay? So cortisol, okay, which we need, cortisol is not bad, but cortisol will be fluctuating and it will start to tick up as soon as we start seeing light. And we require that to wake up, okay? There's another hormone too, but I forget what it is. So nonetheless, light stimulates us waking up, i.e., our eyes are stimulated until our brain get alert. On the opposite end, when it starts to dim, okay, melatonin then starts to be dropped, okay, to help us what? Because we're supposed to be asleep when it's dark. Evolution, people, evolution. All right, so why does this help our nervous system? When we close our eyes to turn turn off or turn on lights, we're allowing, okay, our eyes not to be shocked, is what it comes down to. When you have a wonderful example is, in fact, the gradual sunlight. That is the best way to wake up. If you don't have to set an alarm, let the natural light wake you up, because it's going to be a natural way that your eyes blink open. Okay, so that's the second. So the first tip, close your eyes before and after turning off any lights. The second tip is right along that lines, blink your eyes open after closing them. So after your eyes have been closed, i.e. because you turned on or off lights, then blink your eyes open. That's why I always tell everyone after our PQ reps, if our eyes were closed, to blink them open. Why? Because you're not shocking your brain after opening your eyes, if in fact, you have the ability to do so. Once again, when we blink our eyes open, we're allowing our eyes to readjust to what it's seeing. Okay. The eyes have been closed, and so their perception is not what it was a few seconds ago. And it doesn't want to be shocked by something in their face, right? Or, whatnot. So when you blink your eyes open, it will let the light, or wherever you're at, if it's dark, let's say, it lets the atmosphere around you, right, settle into your eyes. Your eyes can adjust, is the better word, can adjust better. So in the same way that, people, for whatever reason, wear infrared lights, right? Or I should say glasses, for whatever reason, they're doing so that they can see in dark spaces, right? Well, imagine, right, that your blinking is equivalent to infrared light. You're trying to help your eyes adjust, okay, without straining them. And it also proves that when you do, again, close your eyes when and if lights go down and up, right? And then when you blink your eyes open, you're giving your eyes times to adjust in a lot more less strenuous way. Okay. So in the same way that I would always close my eyes when the lights are going on and off, I tell people, right, if they're in the same room, hey, close your eyes if you want. I'm going to turn on the lights, or vice versa, right? It's a polite way to help others regulate their nervous system. Um, People don't realize how much our eyes work. They work a lot. And, I get to find better glasses, in fact. So I know very much how hard my eyes are working. And even these simple tips can, again, help the nervous system as well as your eyes. Okay, the third out of five easy steps to support your nervous system is regardless of your age, okay, wherever you are, what level you're at, you want to move slowly when you're going up and down, meaning like if you're possibly going down the floor or coming up from the floor. Now, as children, right, they pop up and down and it's no big deal. But I would even encourage you to look at little babies. Yes, they're learning, right, as toddlers, right, how to move. But if you watch how a toddler moves, that's actually how you should always move. Our instinct as humans to move our bodies is not just instinctual, but it's poetry in motion. So assuming hopefully that they have the ability, when you watch a toddler either breathe even better, when you watch them breathe, when you watch them move, they are case studies in how you should always move and breathe. We forget as we age how to be efficient because we're trying to hurry up. If we slow down, regardless of our age, okay? And again, as a youngster, you're not going to really think about that because your body is working optimally, hopefully, in most cases. And I can assure you that I would have had less injuries as a kid had I taken my own advice many years later, right? Of slowing down. And what I mean by that is that it gives your nervous system a way to regulate itself. When you're coming up from the floor, especially, and because I'm in menopause, I can tell you it's always a adventure when we're getting up and down, right, from the floor. But uh, regardless of your age, when you move slowly, you have less risk of injury. Now, there are instances, right, when again, it could be we're in a sport, right, or we're active, or hiking, whatever the scenario is, you will always be better served if you are paying attention to your surroundings and you choose to move slowly if possible, right? Especially if you're going up and down, okay? So when we're going to sit, making sure the chair is behind us or whatever we're going to sit on is there, right? Instead of just assuming it's there and then we end up falling and then we hurt ourselves, regardless of the age. Or you're reaching up for something and you're not really paying attention. Again, with our nervous system, the slower our body moves, the more our logical part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex can actually work the way it's supposed to. All right. All right. Number four, for keeping our nervous system regulated is this sounds similar to what I just said, but it's a little bit more intentional in the fact that I'm talking about being intentional while performing habitual tasks. So our nervous system, again, theoretically, we should, more times than not, evolution wants us to be, or thinks, or rather, we should be in the parasympathetic nervous system more times than not. We're the opposite though, because of technology, because of modern everyday, life, we are always in a low grade version of our fight or flight mode. And that sucks for our nervous system. But if we decide to be intentional about how we perform our habitual tasks, we serve our nervous system better. So when I'm writing, something as simple as writing, if I were to slow down and want to relish how my letters look, I only print now. I mean, I did learn cursive. Apparently, kids now don't learn cursive, and so they can't even read the Constitution. There you go. In any case, when I write, I'm intentional about how I'm writing because I want to enjoy the experience, but also more importantly is I don't want to rush because when we rush in any type of practice, our nervous system is again thinking that something is not right or that it needs to be worried. And I'm not saying that you have to go like slow-mo, like in Zootopia, all the sloths. I remember that movie so well. The sloths were like just so slow. You don't have to be that slow. But intentionality means that you are taking a moment by moment and relishing whatever the task is. So you can actually PQ this. If you have the fortune of being able to wash dishes instead of using a dishwasher, like me, then relish how the soap feels when you're using the sponge or whatever your, cleaning method is. Uh, really be intense about watching the water, right? Rinse off the suds. When you are intentional, you are automatically slowing down your task, your movement, without even knowing it. Why? Because you start to go in what is now called the flow. Our bodies work best when they are in homeostasis, correct? Homeostasis is achieved when our body feels safe and it feels in balance and it doesn't feel rushed. Okay, so our nervous system will thank you if you decide to be more intentional when performing habitual tasks. And then number five, the fifth easy way to regulate your nervous system is to pause between tasks. So many times, uh, we rush from one task to another. And it was I believe his name is Brendan Burchard, who in his book, I forget, it was High Performance Habits or something like that. But he, in the book, and apparently in his daily life, pauses and intentionally pauses and then has like a little breathing mechanism, little habit before he moves on to something else. And that right there absolutely can help with your nervous system. When you pause, okay, it's as simple as just taking a sigh, letting your arms drop, right? Whatever you were involved in. Now you're going to move on to something else. Instead of just immediately thinking, okay, I'm done here, I'm going to fly over here. No, give yourself a pause. It can be literally 10 seconds, but you pause, you just let your body be. Our bodies, if you're of a certain age group, okay, I'm Gen X, we grew up without all this technology. And in doing so, we know that it's okay to be bored, to have time in silence, to not be busy and not be occupied all the time. We also know how to use our imagination, right? How to be creative about keeping ourselves occupied without technology. And we had to learn technology as we grew. The generations after us don't have that pleasure. And I call it that because it's unsettling that little people will never know what it's like to just sit in silence unless their parents are very strict. They will never know what it's like just to be sitting somewhere and just not worried about anything. And I'm not trying to say that, all youth have it easy and can take a pause. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that no matter what your age, when you pause and then give yourself that few seconds just to engage nothing, to enjoy silence or to enjoy just those few seconds of pause, you tell your nervous system that it's safe to move on to the next situation or task or to take on something new, right? Our nervous system, again, should always be, more times than not, in the parasympathetic nervous system state, but it's not. It's more in the fight or flight version instead of the rest and digest. And that low grade stress causes internal inflammation. We want to tell our nervous system on a daily basis, you are safe. And in doing so, that means that our overall health is going to be much better. Okay. So, yeah, I enjoyed this. And my call to action, so to speak, is to make sure that you show up to my end of the month yoga lives. Okay. So, I am a yoga instructor and I go live at 12 p.m. PT, hopefully. Um, I say that because I ended up having to tape last month. But if I am able, I will always be live. But it can be a clinic or a flow. But either way, give yourself that grace and give yourself the time to indulge a little in self-care. And it's not going to cost you anything. And until then, I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care and take charge.